Hey, this is Scott, and today we're going to be talking about this Feelworld FW279S, a 2200 nit 7-inch SDI and HDMI 4K compatible on-camera monitor. So like I just said, this does have inputs and outputs for both HDMI and SDI on here. They're not cross-convertible though, so you can't put in an HDMI signal and send out an SDI signal, for example. They have to be the same type, but they do have both ports on here anyway, hence the S in the name. But if you don't need SDI, then you can go ahead and get the non-S version, which has HDMI only, and you'll actually save a good amount of money that way, but you'll still get the nice, large 7-inch bright screen. Personally, I'm happy to have the SDI ports on here because, of course, it is a more secure connection compared to HDMI, but also with something like the C200 that only outputs the things like the native waveforms over SDI, not over HDMI. So being able to use that SDI allows me to have those waveforms even when using this monitor, which, the same as pretty much all monitors in this price point, does not have waveforms built in. In terms of those assist features and the menu systems overall and the buttons and everything, how that works, it's exactly identical to all of the other Feelworld monitors that I've used, including the Feelworld Master MA5, which I recently made a very in-depth walkthrough of those menus and assist features. So if you want to see specifically what is available here and how those menus work and everything, then go ahead and check out the link in the video description. I know that is not this monitor, but in terms of the menus and the assist features, it's identical. So that will give you all of the answers that you need if that's the kind of information you're looking for. So as I say that though, I say all the buttons are identical, but actually one of the buttons, not an extra button, one of the existing arrow buttons does have a second added function to it, and that's just to switch modes, and that will just switch between SDI and HDMI inputs. So if you're plugged in but you don't see an image, that's probably why. Just go ahead and press that mode button and it will switch over to the other option. Otherwise, you do have all of those inputs and outputs right here on the side. And then on the other side, you have a USB port, which is just for firmware upgrades, I believe, and maybe servicing by the company. You have a 3.5mm headphone jack, and you also have a DC in, which you can see I'm using right now to power off a D-tap from this battery right here because all of my Sony MPF batteries were dead. On the back, I do have a Sony MPF battery plate. I believe you can get this in a few different versions, but I have the MPF version, and it is only a single-purpose battery plate. It can't take multiple types of batteries like the Feelworld Master MA5, for example. And there is also only one plate on here, so it's not like you can hot swap multiple batteries. There's only one battery plate on here. And in terms of actual battery life, like I said, I've been using this actually mostly with D-tap power, either from the D-tap on my SWIP batteries from my Canon C200 or on some other sort of setup. But I will go ahead after this video is done and my batteries are done charging up, and I will test it out. It will depend on what brand battery you have, how good they are, I guess, what size battery, and also, what settings you have in terms of brightness on this monitor, how fast it will drain the power of that battery. But I'll go ahead and test it anyway, and I'll just throw up a little bit of information on screen somewhere just to give you some idea of what you can expect. Finally, you got just a single 1/4-20 screw thread on the bottom here. There is only one on the bottom. You don't have any on the sides or on the top. But, Feelworld monitors are very easy to go into the menu and flip the screen and also flip the menu. So if you do have to mount this upside down because of however you have it set up, it's not a problem. So these are very easy to deal with that kind of situation anyway. In terms of lag, I tested it with both HDMI and SDI on a couple of different cameras, and overall I didn't see any significant difference from other monitors that I've used in the past, especially lower priced monitors. I did do a couple of tests with the timer on my iPhone. I put that in front of the lens and then I took a picture so you can see the time on the iPhone and also on the monitor and see the difference between that, and I'll put those pictures up on screen now. I'm not sure how much of an idea that will really give you in terms of real world lag or real world performance, but I'll put it up there anyway so you have that information. But again, in most cases, I don't think the lag is going to be anything to be concerned about here. So if you're worried about that, I would say probably don't worry about it. Finally, on to the kind of headline feature here, and that is the brightness. Of course, at 2200 nits, this is a very, very bright monitor, and they say that, it's great for using out in daylight, and I can say absolutely that is true. Just, a week ago, I found myself shooting by myself out at a location where it was very, very, very bright, and it's a situation where I've often been frustrated before. I'm standing 2 or 3 meters in front of the camera, and I'm trying to make sure that my framing is okay, that I'm in focus and everything like that, and that's always been just a very, very frustrating situation because you're straining to see yourself, and in most cases, you're 50% guessing on, if it's good. I think it's good. It looks all right. Maybe it's fine. But having this monitor with me was just a lifesaver. It was worlds different from what I've been working with before. And it was really, really nice to have there. And I could see myself clearly. You know, it's a 7-inch monitor, so it's nice and large. I don't have to worry about straining to see a smaller monitor, but also the brightness is really, really great. Even without a sunshade on here, it was very easy to see myself. If you have it in direct sunlight, of course, there's going to be the glare as the sun bounces off the screen, but even then it's pretty easy to see. But if you don't have that direct glare to worry about when you're out in a very bright situation, this is just so beautiful and clear and easy to see. And I really, really love it. Going back from using this to not using this is terrible. Just a few days ago, or a few days after that shoot, I went out and I just had the bare bones C200 with me with the native C200 monitor and a sunshade on it. And even with my face up to the sunshade, it was just like I felt blind compared to using this monitor. And, you know, of course, the C200 does have the viewfinder in the back, but it's so small. And like I said, going back from this size to that small viewfinder, or going back from this brightness to the native LCD's brightness was just, I felt blind. And I just felt myself really, really wishing that I had brought this with me. It is really, really great to have when you're filming outdoors. In terms of cons or complaints, there's really not a whole lot to say here, especially at this price point. I love having SDI inputs at this price point, and while it is overall very plastic, it's very lightweight because of that. And if you're like me, I've been using the DC in to power it for most of the time, and that means I don't have to worry about the extra added weight of a battery on the back of here. So this is a very, very lightweight monitor to have, and that means you don't need anything particularly strong to mount it on your camera either. So it's very easy to use, and I do appreciate having a lightweight design plus the SDI plus the bright large image. Just the combination has been very, very good, and it kind of overweighs that, you know, plastic build. But when I first did get this monitor, it was the first time that I've ever actually gone in and really adjusted the image settings, the picture settings on a Feelworld monitor. Out of the box, I felt like it was a little bit bright. Not the brightness, the actual backlight, the brightness of the screen was fine, but the brightness of the image, I felt like it was a little bit overexposed looking and a little bit washed out. So I did go ahead and dial it down the brightness, and I adjusted the contrast and things like that. Just to get it kind of more on par with my other monitors. But of course, these Feelworld monitors do make it very easy to do that. So it took me just about a minute to go into the menus and tweak my settings to get it to look more on par with, you know, what I would expect, or, you know, how those other monitors looked. Of course, this is much brighter, but in terms of the image, it looked, you know, more along the lines of what I would want in a monitor. Again, if you want to see more about all the assist features and functions that are built into this, as well as, you know, how those menus work, go ahead and check the video description for my Feelworld menu system walkthrough. It's a MA5 walkthrough, but the menu systems, the features, and everything are exactly the same. So that video will give you all those answers that you're looking for. Otherwise, if you have any other questions about this monitor, let me know down below and I will do my best to get back to you. If you like this video or found it helpful, don't forget to give me a thumbs up, subscribe to see more in the future, and as always, thank you for watching.